good evening, and thank you for being here, both of you. I'm Victoria, and I'm the Teen Services Librarian here at the Iowa City Public Library, and I'm going to have our guests introduce themselves. And as you introduce yourselves, you can just say where you work, what your occupation is, and what a typical day in the life for you looks like. So we'll start with Sandy.
Okay. My name's Sandy Style, and I work at MMS Consultants. We are a land development, civil engineering, landscape architecture, land surveying firm. So, and I'm a project manager, and I also do the business development for the firm. As far as a typical day, I don't have a typical day. No, I don't. Sometimes it's meeting with clients to talk about land that they have and see, you know, they come in with a vision for the land and we try and help them, you know, how to make that vision come to fruition. Other days I'm talking to students or different groups, you know, just inspiring people to hopefully get involved in civil engineering and whatnot. Yeah, so sometimes I'm drawing up concepts. A lot of times I'm coordinating projects with the county and the city and kind of working through the, you know, potential hurdles that we have. So yeah, that's my take at it.
Awesome. How about you, Greg?
I am a welder and pipe fitter for Local 125, which is a United Association national organization. A typical day for myself, it's a lot of physical work. We do process piping. We do anything from steam, water piping, underground stuff. Right now I'm working on a multi-billion-dollar cracker plant, which is a polystyrene plastics plant in Pittsburgh. Really typical is showing up and hoping that you get to do your job without there being too many hurdles to go through.
Don't we all wish for that?
Yes, we do. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much what I do. I do a lot of welding. And as far as pipe fitting goes, it's just making sure that we have the material together, that we can weld it for the process that we're doing.
Great. So I want to ask you both the same question for my second question. Did you always want to do this when you were little? Is this something that you always aspired to be? And what education did you need to get into the field? And what can students do to get a jump start, if anything? So it's kind of a three-pronged question. We can start again with Sandy.
When I was in 4th grade, I loved houses. I knew I wanted to somehow, and I didn't know what it was. I know what it is now, that I wanted to be a developer someday. And as far as classes that I would recommend you take, and Greg, I think you'd probably agree with me. Business, everybody has to know business. You have to know cost of goods sold, and just some basic business principles. I think we deal with so many people in just everywhere, city councils, board of supervisors, that just don't understand business. And that makes economic development very difficult. Math is huge. And oddly enough, art, because you can be the smartest person in the world, but if you do not have creativity to think through those smarts and come up with a creative solution, you're not really a whole lot of, it doesn't help me much.
Mm-hmm.
So
quite a lot. You need quite a lot.
Yeah, you need a well-rounded amount of education.
Mm-hmm. Would you agree with some of that, Greg?
I would. Yes, very much so. I think another thing, critical thinking goes along with that. Business, definitely math with what we do is very, very critical. And believe it or not, this is not where I thought I'd see myself when I was in high school. So I actually went to a couple of years of community college to be to go into broadcast communications. So, and the only reason I got this actually job was because of one of my friends in high school. Saw that they had an opening, thought I'd be good for it, and well, that's kind of where I ended up. I would suggest that if you took any kind of shop classes, if they have anything related to that, and if you enjoy working with your hands, you like to think, you like to problem solve. I think problem solving is a big one too. I think those are the big things to try and get into. And I know with high school that it's not what it used to be. When I was in school, there were shop classes, there were welding classes, there were mechanical classes, that kind of thing, drafting. In Cedar Rapids, I know that's not as prevalent as it used to be. I'm not sure about the surrounding areas, but yeah, those are the kinds of things that I would think something to look into, especially if you're in high school. And if it's something that you're really wanting to do with working with your hands.
Yeah.
Great. I wanted to segue a little bit and ask you both about, STEM related fields. There's a big push, I feel, for getting women and girls interested in those fields. I wanted to ask you both about, how equitable, or, for example, Sandy, how many women do you work with? How many people have your job? The same thing with you, Greg. And are your companies doing anything to attract women into those fields if you see that it's not as even as maybe as it could be?
Yeah, so when I first started 14 years ago at MMS, there were no females. There was the only females that we had were administrative, and now we have, well, she just left. We had 2 female engineers, and now we have myself and another female project manager, and then our environmental specialist is a female, and then we've got a project coordinator that's well on her way to being a project manager. And I think the best thing and we do, Della Caldwell in our office is a civil engineer, and she is constantly out promoting STEM up at New Bow and stuff like that. But I think the best thing that we can do right now is exactly what I'm doing, is just showing the community and everybody that I'm sitting at the table. I'm here. And of course I look like a girl. I don't act like I'm a tomboy or anything. When I first started, I had to cut my hair short and tone it down in order for just to get the guys to take me seriously and teach me things. And I did that for the first 3 years, and then I saw a really cute dress at Yonkers, and I was like, I'm tired of this. So but 3 years was enough that they realized, I was smart. But I hope that, the younger females coming into that don't have to do that. So
that they would buy that Yonkers dress right away off the bat.
No, I didn't. I didn't right away, but it just kind of shifted my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, So.
And what about you, Greg? Do you work with any women? Do you know women that do the same job as you?
I do. There's not a lot. There's it is physically demanding. And that's not to take away from anybody. Anybody can do this. It's the thing about it is, when the stigma with working with your hands has always seemed to be that it takes a lot of muscle to do. And I am a firm believer in work smarter, not harder. There's a lot of mechanical things that we do that make it so that it's not as trying on anybody, you know. The one thing the science part of this, that would be a class I didn't even think about that would be great for anybody to do. There are very few, I've worked with quite a few ladies, but it's overwhelmingly male oriented. But I have also seen women thrive in this profession, and the ones that are in it, they are very confident. They know they don't have to be the strongest person on the job. They can get to the point where they can be smarter than most of the people that they're working around, and they don't have to show the brawn. And I think that's a great thing. And I think we need to have more women doing this kind of thing. But I also can understand why there would be a stigma that they don't.
Yeah, I was told early on by one of the clients after I had met him that he always hired females to do his doctoring, his lawyering, and engineering. And I'm gonna swear a little bit, because he said you have to be twice as good because you can't get away with half the bullshit. So
so true.
yeah. I'm still friends with him to this day. So anyways.
All right. Greg, what would you say about, you're done, you've clocked out. What's the hardest part of just leaving your job at home? I mean, obviously you said it was very manually intensive. So is it hard to switch off from your work? Are you constantly thinking about your obligations for the next day or what might have gone wrong? And what do you do? What are some of your techniques to kind of get out of that zone and just kind of tap out of work?
That's a very interesting question, because the older I get, the easier it is to leave work behind. Just because I believe when I was younger, I had something to prove. I wanted to prove. And now I'm at the point where I've proven enough that, I can't take it home with me, because quite frankly, the family doesn't want to listen to it. And I don't blame them. I don't want to talk about it. It's kind of like taking your problems into work. Nobody at work wants to hear it. So it's changed a lot for me. It used to be that going out with coworkers was a big thing to unwind. Looking back on it, I realized that wasn't really unwinding. It was just taking it with you into a social situation instead of a work situation. Probably not always the healthiest thing to do, but it is what it is. Nowadays, it's being able to connect with family, the wife, the kids, reading a little bit here and there. I enjoy movies, just anything that you can, after a day, just set your mind off. I don't try and do anything too physical, maybe go have a nice dinner or something with a friend or something like that. But, I believe it's just one of those things that you just got to kind of find your own niche of what makes your brain turn off.
Yeah.
So
I would kind of echo that. Earlier, it was, you were just constantly wrapped up in the problems of it and thinking that it was your problem to solve and everything. But I think as you get a little older, you don't take it so seriously. But at the same time, for me, I never really fully shut it off. I'm always, I would say that the problems always just bounce in my head, and I'm thinking, and it's usually in the shower. when I come up with the best solutions. It's like, oh, I know how to do this. Okay, I figured it out. I know what I'll do. So, yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. The other thing I think is that it depends on position too. If you're just one of the worker bees, it's not nearly as difficult to walk away from something without having to feel like it's on you. If you're in charge of a project or something like that, I think that's a little bit different, because that is harder to shut off, because you are more, or they're expecting more from you when you're in that position. So
yeah.
For sure.
my
And
apologies.
when you're doing business development, and you become somewhat, the face of the company, you're kind of always on. When you're out in the public, and just be ready for it. So
Sure.
So what is or are the most rewarding aspects of your job?
You want the honest answer?
Hope it's not the paycheck.
There's different angles of it. You've got to find what you enjoy in life, and live within your means. Money's always going to play a part of it. So yes, paychecks are nice. The bond with the people that I work with, I've met a lot of good people over the years. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've worked in several different states, been in different places, different projects. You get to meet a lot of interesting people, some great, some not so good. Being able to take something that is an idea and turning it into a functioning system is, for me, has always been a good thing. So
yeah, I would say relationships, that's the most rewarding. I get to meet people through my work that most people would never cross the path of, and just to meet such extraordinarily interesting people and successful people. Yeah, that's definitely the best reward.
Okay, now conversely, what would be some things that you would warn somebody, or things that maybe you didn't expect, or challenges that came up in your career that if you had known, you would have maybe second guessed, or you still would have went ahead? But what are some of the challenges of the positions that you're in?
I wouldn't have second guessed it or not done something different, but negotiations, learning negotiating skills with people, and particularly the one thing that recently has, and I'm talking within the last like 7 months, that I would have never seen coming or anticipated was, or is that men, and there's a lot of men in my career field, they are intimidated by me and threatened by me, and sometimes will shut me out of a negotiation because I've been told I'm threatening and intimidating, and I didn't understand what that meant. And they said, I've been told, you're smart, you're well-spoken, you're attractive, and you really don't need anybody. And that is a threat to men, Sandy. And when I'm having to deal with these, and there's little man's disease is the thing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that is a thing. And when how to deal with that. I'm learning that right now. That's where I'm at in my career, is figuring that out. So
what strategies are you using to overcome that? How are you dealing with that?
I am actually, it's actually under my laptop right now, but I'm reading a book by Chris Voss, called Never Split the Difference. He was an FBI kidnap negotiator. And so, working with these very intimidating, really evil people in the world, and how do you negotiate with them?
Mhm,
So that's what I'm doing right now.
mhm.
Until
So if you can negotiate with a kidnapper, you can negotiate easily with these guys.
Yeah, and those
Yeah.
guys unfortunately have like years and years of experience, and I've just started
Mhm.
this. So
Oh,
I think that goes without saying for anything. And then I'm not trying to downplay that by any means. You're going to run into people that rub you the wrong way, you rub the wrong way. And I agree, being able to deal with that, it has been one of the most difficult things that we have to do. Know-it-alls are always a good one. Everybody knows better than you. And we seem to be getting a lot of those these days. I'm not sure what that's about, but it does happen. The traveling for me has been a little bit more difficult than with a wife and children and everything. Being away for months on end, which this is what has happened to me in this job. But I also, have to go where I have to go. So you kind of live and learn, and you deal with the things that you can deal with, and you just try and make the best of what you can. And dealing with people can be very difficult at times.
yeah, and learning to say, I don't know right now, but I'll find out. That's
Yes,
the strongest thing that you can, and you'd be amazed at how difficult it is to learn to say that.
yeah.
I agree. And that's one of the things now that I've been doing this for as long as I have, that really is one of my pet peeves now, is the ones that would rather answer you guessing off the top of their head without the knowledge
Mm,
than admitting you don't know. Give me a few minutes and I'll figure it out.
mhm.
Yeah, or just saying no right off the bat. And it's like, well, hang on a second here.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
So once you're established, what are the career prospects for the job? And is there a promotion ladder that you could see in your field that you had your eye on the whole way?
There is that's a hard one to answer for my field, because you go from being an apprentice to being a journeyman. Once you get to be a journeyman, then you can be a foreman, where you're telling other guys, showing them projects, into being a general foreman, which is being in charge of more people, and then a superintendent, which would be over a large group in certain areas, on larger projects. And I mean, with everything, there's always room for advancement. It's just the career, the way you want to go with it.
Mhm.
I have been lucky with my career that I've gotten to see a lot of different parts of what we do, and not just the physical manual labor of it.
Mhm.
I have been able to start to read blueprints, and that kind of thing, and see how systems work and start putting things together for yourself. So, that's pretty rewarding. It can be, depending on where you're at, a little bit harder to do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So it does really just kind of depend on where you end up and what you feel like you want to be doing with
Mhm.
it.
I would probably echo that statement. It just depends what direction you want to go.
Mhm.
It really does. You know, if you want to go into a leadership role, then you're really not doing engineering anymore.
Mhm.
Or if you want to be a developer, Mike Hodge and Jim Clark were both started off as engineers and builders, and then, you know, now they develop land. So it just, it depends what direction you want to go. And I'd have to say, particularly in our career field, there are, the way I like to put it is there's lions and giraffes. Each one has is designed for a very specific, task. And you don't ask your lions to do what giraffes are more equipped to do, and you don't ask your giraffes to go hunt wildebeest. And
It's a great analogy.
That is a really good analogy.
And in engineering, we have some that are introverts but are brilliant at crunching numbers and making things work and fit together. But if I put that person in front of a room of 50 people, they'd freeze.
Right.
Or if I had said, go talk to that person and see if you can, get some work in, not what they're good at. So, yeah.
So after high school, how many years did it take for you guys to get into the position that you're in right now? Or, the entry level part, how long did it take?
Well, after high school, I went into the Air Force and I did 4 years active duty.
Okay.
And then after that, I went to school. And I was in college for quite a long time because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I learned about a lot of things. And for the average, like if you were just going the engineering track, it would probably take you 5 years of college. And then, once then you get a job with an engineering firm, and then you're usually in that job for 5 years or so, give or take, before you can test to be a professional engineer. And as far as things that you could do in the meantime, honestly, the best thing that you can do as far as civil engineering, work construction, work landscaping. I don't care if you can recite what's in a book. If you don't actually understand it, what's going on the site, that doesn't help me. Our best engineers grew up doing construction or landscaping, or just those little jobs along the way help them understand better how development works.
I love that.
I saw Greg nodding a lot there.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, that's, yeah. Book smarts can get you only so far. I mean, I can read a book on how to do anything, but unless I have the practical for it, there's really not much to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect point, because, in my line of work, we're getting a lot of younger people that are going into college and the big one right now is to become a safety person in our field. They're going to 4 years of college and coming out onto a job site and telling us how to do our job safely, and they've never done it before. And I think that's a big problem. But as far as your question, it's knowledge. Knowledge can be the best thing for you, and learning it as you go is the best way to do it. I went through an apprenticeship that took 5 years. The nice thing about the apprenticeship and doing construction trades is that most of the time you're getting paid for doing it, for your education. And that's not college by any means. People go their own ways, they do their own thing. It worked out well for me. If you like the physical stuff, if you like to think and you don't want the debt, construction trades is really not a bad way to go. And it's always going to be something that's needed. I've always told my kids that, you know, there's two things that you want to do when you're growing up is you want to find something that you can do that you enjoy and live within the means. And the second part is that you enjoy it fully. You know, you can only live so much through your job. And if it's hard for you to do, then it makes life a little bit harder to deal with, because there have been times for me that it has been a little bit more difficult than others. But yeah, 5 years of school, high school diploma is a must. The apprenticeship, and once you're turned out of the apprenticeship, you can go anywhere you want, you know, find the path that you want to do in the trades.
Mhm. Awesome.
Yeah, I would, I don't know that the return on investment for four-year college is there anymore.
Yeah.
I definitely, particularly in my line of work, the developers, most of the big developers around Iowa City, they all started off in the trades.
Mhm.
Either as a framer or an electrician or a plumber, you know, pick a specific area, and that's where they started. And then if you've got it in you, if you've got the entrepreneurial spirit and the vision, it's just going to take you from there. You don't have to know everything, but know one thing. And know what you like. I would highly encourage, don't go to college right after high school. Find out, get a job, get a couple jobs, find out what you like, what you don't like. Half the stuff you learn in college, you don't remember anyways.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
But you know, I know that the kids that are getting, you know, HVAC certifications or electricians or plumbers, my electrician that did work on my house, yeah, he was telling me, you know, yeah, well, I got this problem. I just got a house and another house and another house in Aspen.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, so you're doing okay. You know, as he's standing in front of his $70,000 pickup truck.
Oh, wow.
So, and my nephew got an HVAC, you know, I think he spent $4,000 through a community college, and he's got 5 properties now. He's 32 years old, and he's probably fixing to, you know, just be on his own. What he was able to do just from being on construction, like being at homes and the relationships that you build, he you know, was able to buy a $150,000 house, and which was a piece when he bought it. But you know, within 6 months, just because of all the things that he knew or was willing to take on because he had the confidence to do it, now that house is worth probably at least $250,000. And having $100,000 in equity, you know, with a $10,000 cash investment to make those repairs, equity is power.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, you know, some degrees don't necessarily pay off. Engineering is one of them. But yeah, you're gonna work for it.
Wow. That's crazy. So Greg, it seemed like you, after high school, went into your field. Did either of you have any related internships, or did you volunteer before you got into the field to see what it was like?
I didn't know. No. If I would have done my homework, do I think I would be doing this now? I don't know. I know. But it was there when I was looking for something, and it's, for the most part, turned out good.
Yeah, I didn't do any internships or anything like that, or or volunteer work. I grew up, you know, around construction. My dad was a master craftsman, and so was my uncle. So it was just always there. So I always appreciated home building, even though, you know, we do site engineering. I very much respect and appreciate the home building aspect of it and the building.
Mhm. So if you're talking directly to young people, what would you say are great traits if you want to be a welder or if you want to be a civil engineer? And what advice would you give young people who are looking to get into your fields?
Be willing to learn. And
And get a job.
yes,
Get a job, kids.
Just
don't-
get you don't have to intern, just get a job, get paid. You know,
do
whether
different
it's
stuff.
whether it's landscaping or something in construction, you know, concrete, or get outside.
Right. Yeah. I don't know about anybody else here, but you know, when I was 18, 19, thought I knew what I wanted to do, you know, I'm far away from where I thought I would be, you know,
Mhm.
so to be that age and look back at it, do as much as you can. Do different stuff, find what you like. And I can't say it enough that you really need to find something you're passionate about,
Mhm.
because if you're not going to be successful. That's my belief.
And every day for the rest of your life, and the rest of your life is a long time. You're going to
Yes.
be miserable.
Yes,
So find something that you love, and you'll never have to go to work.
exactly.
I thought I wanted to be a nurse, and I realized I don't like to listen to people bitch about their problems. Nurse.
Yeah, your bedside manner might leave a little bit to be desired.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's all the questions that I have for you. Is there anything else that maybe we didn't cover that you just wanted to kind of put out there?
Have mentors. Have multiple mentors throughout your life and your career, because at various stages in your career and your life and your professional development, you're going to need different types of mentoring. So yeah.
I agree 100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us and telling us about the trades and civil engineering. I've learned a
Yeah.
lot that I might not have learned before, how lucrative it is in some places. So
Yeah.
Well, thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
yeah, thank you so much for being here.